Welcome to the session, Access to Finance and Funding. The objection of this session is to provide you with timely, relevant, actionable advice on how to grow your business. And we're honored to have three panelists join us today from this area who have lots of wisdom and knowledge in this field. Brian Sear is the Market President, Executive Vice President for Commercial Bank of Texas. He's been with CBTX for over 28 years and graduated from SFA with a bachelor's degree in business as well as a master's in business. He's also a graduate of the SMU's School of Banking with distinction. He has served on many boards in Angelina County, and he is married to Jennifer McCall. They have 4 grown children as well as a 3-year-old granddaughter. Brian Sear.
Hello. Thank you.
Greg Burkett serves as the loan officer with PeopleFund. He previously was the business advisor for the Small Business Development Center at Angelina College. He has a wide-ranging background in commercial lending, residential real estate, managing industrial fabrication operations, and owning and operating service businesses. He holds a BBA in Economic and Finance from Baylor University and a graduate degree from Lamar. Greg? Matthew Smilor serves as the director of the Arnold Center for the Entrepreneurship at SFA. He spearheads initiatives to foster entrepreneurship with the university and the broader East Texas region. His role involves developing co-curricular and educational programs, driving student engagement, and expanding the university's entrepreneurial footprint. He's dedicated to building a hub in East Texas that not only benefits the SFA community, but has a direct and measurable economic impact on Nacogdoches and the entire region. Please help me welcome Matt. Brian, we're going to start with you. The banking industry keeps changing, seems like every day. Why is it important to build a relationship with your banker before you start seeking loans, and how do you go about doing that?
Super. So I was watching Mark Hicks earlier, listening to him, and he had everybody who's in a small business raise their hands. So those of you who raise your hand, if you would, when you get a chance, look in your wallet and see what your banker's card looks like. I'm pretty sure if you bank with me, if my card is in your pocket, you have my cell phone on that card. Let me ask you, any out-of-town banks ever give you their cell phone number, or can you get them after hours on the weekend when you have a problem? I'm looking out in the audience and I see V, and Valina will call me up on the weekend and say, hey, I've got a problem with so-and-so, one of my customers, this, that. We're here local. You can get in touch with us. It's not many banks that you can walk into the bank and actually talk to the president of the bank. The changes that Tara is referring to, you know, you have big banks that just don't care about small businesses like we do. Capital One and Bank of America proved that by leaving Lufkin. They didn't want to be here because we weren't big enough and important enough for them. The big banks don't care about you. The guys up here on this panel, you're going to see us at Walmart. And there's other bankers out there. I see Chase and a bunch of other bankers out here. You're going to find us at Walmart. You're going to see us at Brookshire Brothers. We're going to sponsor your kids in the Little League World Series. We're going to do things for you that the big banks just don't do. We're going to sponsor these events. We're going to sponsor fundraisers. We are here to help you.
Greg, tell us about PeopleFund. Who is PeopleFund, and what makes PeopleFund different than a bank like CBTX?
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, participants that came today, and the panelists. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to sit with distinguished panelists. And like Brian had mentioned, we are about the people. And it's as our name, PeopleFund. And Congress years ago realized that commercial banks, Brian and the local banks do a real good job of reaching our market, but a lot of the larger institutions, which he had previously mentioned, have a real trouble reaching out and helping businesses when they need the help. And so they establish community development financial institutions that kind of bridge between what people associate with the PPP loans, the SBA, and the commercial bank. The commercial banks, they do their job good, but a lot of times the risk associated with startup businesses and underserved businesses is more challenging than they care to manage the risk for. And so we help bridge that. We come alongside the business owner to help them establish even a day one startup. The goal is to get that client ready to be a better relationship with the commercial banks. And so we offer education opportunities. We provide one-on-one business advising, and we actually, provide funding. And we have some grant programs where we combine all those elements, the education and the loan, with a grant to help forward the effort. And the particular program I'm speaking of is a business accelerator program, and I'd be glad to discuss it any further with you. But basically, we offer a 10% of the loan amount grant associated with the effort that a business owner would make in the education process. So those are just a few things that distinguish us differently. We're not a depository, so we want you to trade with Brian. Okay, we want you to have accounts with Brian. In fact, we require it, for the loan requirement, but we help do the loan side, and then get the business owner to be a better client for conventional relationship after that. So.
Thank you. Matthew, what are the most common funding sources available for local startups and small businesses? And what are the pros and cons of each?
Thank you. Great question. The cool thing about East Texas and our region is there are an abundance of funding sources. Unfortunately, whether you like Shark Tank or not, Shark Tank has put in everybody's mindset, you have to go for venture capital money. You have to get Mark Cuban to say, I want a deal, or Mr. Wonderful to go, I'm going to want, royalties in perpetuity. For most businesses, that is the wrong way to go. You don't need to give up equity in your company. You don't need to seek millions upon millions of dollars. You can go to your local banks and get small business loans. You can talk to people like PeopleFund and get resources there for you. All of great resources that you don't give up equity in your own business, which, as any small business owner will tell you, if you don't have to give up any equity in your business, don't. Keep it. It's your baby. It's your business on there. By reaching out to your local bankers, organizations like PeopleFund, the Arnold Center for Entrepreneurship and the Small Business Hub, your SBDCs, your SBA, they can help you identify what those exact funding needs are. A lot of times it's also bootstrapping. You kind of find out what money you're able to pull yourself. You'd be surprised how resilient you can be and what you can come up with just a little bit of money. And then you also have those awkward Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas dinners where you talk to your friends and families and go, gosh, I have this great idea. Who wants to join this ride with me? You'd be surprised. People are willing to help if you ask them to. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you need to make that decision of, how much money do I really need in this business? And maybe you get to that point where you need angel funds. So that $250,000 to about $1 million, give or take. Okay, great. There are angel groups around this region that are looking to invest in your business, in your company. Hopefully one day you want to become a unicorn company, $1 billion startup. Well, there's venture capital money here in East Texas that's willing to invest in you if your business is scalable. But you need to know the pros and cons of what those entail. If you go for venture capital money, you're giving up your business. Venture capitalists don't care at all about your business, no matter what they tell you. They want to know what their return's going to be and how fast they're going to get that for you. And if you're not able to get them that return, guess what? They will get rid of you as the boss, the CEO, the executive, whatever that may be, and put somebody in that will, because that's what their dollar is. Your local bankers are not that way. They have your best interests in mind. They want to see you succeed in the community that they succeed in, that they see you at Walmart at the Little League sporting events. So those would be kind of the initial funding options I would do. Big thing is just reach out to different organizations and ask, what's available to me?
Matt, I'm going to follow up on that. What type of funding is most suitable for business needs, and how do you figure out the best funding for you?
I think for most businesses, it's going to be your small business loan, at least here in East Texas, at least initially starting off, if you need to get money. If you don't need to get a loan, don't get a loan. Hold on to whatever cash you have for as long as possible. But if you need to leverage some debt, there are ways to do that. Explore all those avenues first. Come to places like the Small Business Resource Hub or your SBDC or SBA, or talk to PeopleFund, or go to your local banker and ask, what's available to me? They will be straight up and honest and tell you, you're not quite ready for this loan yet. Okay. What do I need to do to get that type of loan? And they will let you know. Great. Once you have that information, come talk to groups like the Small Business Resource Hub. We'll help you get that traction that you need so you can go back to Brian and go, I got everything you need. Can I have a loan now?
Perfect.
Can I
Thank you.
piggyback off of that, Tara?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's exactly right. There are a lot of programs out there, but you don't have to be an expert. I mean, you guys show up here, we're just going to tell you, come see us. I mean, I've had people say, I need a small business loan. And that could mean anything from I need $5,000 just to pay the rent for the next couple of months, all the way to I need $1 million to buy a property, or $10 million I need to buy a car dealership here in Lufkin. So it really needs to be customized. And that's a reason why you can't, in my opinion, you shouldn't do your banking over the internet. They're not going to sit down with you and give you advice on what's the best for you. You have to know what you want, and you request it online. If you come sit down with one of the local bankers, we're going to sit there and say, okay, the easy way to borrow $5,000 to pay your rent for the next 2 months is you have a four-wheeler that's paid for, let's just refinance it and give you the money. Versus going through all the paperwork for an SBA, which I would do if it was a larger loan, made more sense, and bigger bang for your buck. So get it customized. Go to a local banker and get your deal customized, because every deal is different.
So, Brian, let's stick with you. There may be people out here that are thinking about starting up a small business. What is your best piece of advice for them? And you may have already said that.
I kind of did right there, is come talk to your banker first. Let's get it, I don't like work. I was telling somebody at the table, Chase Luce and I were just talking, and I said, hey, everybody always talks about bankers' hours. I said, yeah, you can work. If you're a banker, you can work any 60 hours this week that you want. Doesn't matter. Same thing with small businesses. You work any 60 hours you want. I'm sorry, Tara, repeat how you wanted me to follow up on that. Got sidetracked.
Just advice that you would give them.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it's the fact that
come in.
just
come
get
in and
to
sit
know
down
your
with
local
us.
people. No matter what bank you choose local and get to know your local people.
Exactly.
Greg, tell me, what information does a banker need from the prospect when considering a business loan?
Well, just like Brian has already indicated, you need to understand what you're asking for, okay? And sometimes that might be, hard to come up with. You don't know how to verbalize it. You don't know how. And so we like to encourage prospects to go through a business plan process, okay? And there's a lot of resources available, one of which is the SBDC. Diane and her team does a real good job with helping businesses establish a business plan. And a business plan, it's a term with, I've got a plan, I want to be in business. Well, there's a little bit more to it than that. You want to understand the problem. You want to understand what's needed in the market, okay? And then identify how you can address that need. And then you need to understand what factors are impacting that business from a industry-wide all the way down to the local market here in East Texas, your competitors, who those are. And then you understand what your financing needs are, what capital you need to have in place, what equipment you need to have in place, what resources that you can bring to the table. But being able to put that on, the business plan document helps the banker understand what your ideal is. And then it's a lot easier for them to have the passion, as Brian has indicated, to get behind you in the effort. But one thing about entrepreneurship, I would kind of differ with Brian a little bit about, is that 60 hours it's not a 60-hour job. Any of us that have owned businesses, it's 24 hours, 7, okay? You go to bed thinking about your business, you wake up thinking about your business, and unfortunately, as like in an employee type situation, you punch the clock and you go home, and you don't have to worry about it till you get back there, okay? But as an entrepreneur, basically, you have to manage that business continuously. And so, it takes passion, it takes a zeal, it takes, and so one of the things I would encourage a business or an individual thinking about going into business is, do you have that passion? Do you want to put that 24/7 into that business? And, that's one of the first questions I would think needs to be answered.
So Matt, let's stay on the topic of a business plan. What are some common mistakes in a business plan that could hinder the funding chances, and how can you avoid that?
Sure. The business plan is the single most important and worthless document you will ever have in your business. As soon as you write it, it is completely outdated. But banks need to have a business plan. You need to have a business plan so you put your ideas down on paper. You've actually taken something that's now an idea and made it tangible. There are 3 big mistakes I see all the time in business plans. One is the idea that you get across that there are no other competitors out there. We're the only ones doing this. There is somebody else doing it. Google has made that process very simple. 2, I only need X percentage of sales or market share in order to be successful. If I just had 1% of the sales in China, we'd be successful. If I had 10% of the sales here in East, that's all I need. Maybe so. What happens if you don't? Right? And 3, everyone will buy. Everybody's going to want this. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Why wouldn't somebody want this thingamajiggy? Well, because they don't. That's the simple answer. We see those 3 things commonly in business plans over and over again, along with messed up financials. You overinflate what your business is worth, or what you think it's going to be worth, or how much revenue you're going to bring in the first year, second year, third year. It's all a crapshoot anyway when you're guessing on a horizon or forecasting out what my 3-year sales are going to be. Bankers, investors, they know that you're guessing. But they also know if it's kind of an educated guess, or if it's, gosh, we were in idea stage just last year and we're going to be $10 million in sales tomorrow or at the end of the month. No, you're not. Big red flag if I see that, or the numbers don't add up, or the biggest things I see with a business plan.
Yeah, very true. Brian, let's talk about the economy. How do you see Texas, and more specifically, the East Texas economy?
So if you remember 15, 17 years ago, we had a little bit of a dip in the economy with the mortgage crisis. We see that, or I see that, I'm not going to say everybody sees it, I see that on our short-term horizon again. I think that mortgage prices are going to start coming down. One of the biggest things that I see is that people's taxes and insurance are going up so much that I'm getting phone calls from customers saying, I need to sell my house, all right? Economics 101 teaches you supply and demand. If people are selling their houses, there's more houses on the market, prices start dropping. When prices start dropping, you have some people that are overfinanced or have borrowed too much against their houses that go, wait a minute, my house is no longer worth that. I can't sell it for that. They have to lower their price. No, sometimes banks are going to have to foreclose on those folks. So you're going to continually get more and more houses go on the market over the next few years, which drops prices. So these, $200 a square foot houses that are being built right now and businesses, those values might not hold up. I'm not saying they're not going to. I'm saying that that's my fear, is that the economy is not done on a decline. Rates are still high, so interest rates are going up, and banks on in-house loans, business loans, use adjustable rate pricing. So we started that probably 3 to 5 years ago, doing more and more adjustable priced loans. All banks, not just your local banks, your big banks, all of us, because we don't know what the economy is going to do. We were so stable for so long. Now we don't know what the economy is. So to protect the bank and to stay in business, we do adjustable. That way we're protected. If it goes up, great, we're happy. If it goes down, we're okay, we're protected. So as those loans that we've done for the last 5 years start repricing, because a lot of those were fixed for 3 to 5 years, now they're going to start repricing. So your payments are going up. So we're calling customers all the time, banks are, saying your payment went up either because of the interest rate, insurance, and taxes. And when we're calling them saying $500, $700 a month, that's painful. That's a car payment that now you didn't plan on buying another car. So you got to be cognizant when you're going into a business and you're doing your business plan. Not only do you have to worry about your sales being projected properly, which again, Matt said it, we've never seen a projections not cash flow or not make money. Nobody ever goes into business thinking it's not going to make money. But you also have to figure in there that rates might keep going up. I hope not, and I feel like they might go down because inflation is starting to drop. That's the key indicator for the Fed. They want inflation to come down, and right now it's at like the annual inflation rate is at like 3.25, 3.27, I think it was yesterday. They want it down around 2%. That's a long way to go. So they're going to keep rates high until inflation gets down closer to 2%. So I feel like we haven't turned the corner yet, and we may even see a little bit of a dip going forward. So, just plan for that. Also, that's the bad news. The good news is people are expecting to pay more. Supply and demand. They're willing to pay for your products. You have a good local product that you're selling, they're going to come shop with you. So, don't let that stop you. If you can make money at current interest rates, prime is 8.5. If you can make money borrowing money, do it. Go ahead and borrow money and make money.
Okay. Greg, you talked about getting your clients ready to go out. How do you get them ready for a relationship with local banks?
Well, as we mentioned, an education component. We do, with our partners also like SBDC, we partner with the client and letting them understand a lot of the things that we've discussed. The risk, the advantages, the objectives that a business should have. And by working through that process and then giving them opportunity to have some credit and funding and scale their business. And so whenever, like Brian mentioned, that $1 million opportunity or that $10 million opportunity, that client will be ready for that. But one thing I would like to talk about, the economy and the situation we're sitting in. I got into banking, and I'm telling my age, I'm probably the oldest one on the panel, but in the 80s. And so I've seen the cycle through a lot of different economic downturns. And we've just come from talking about mortgage rates. We come from historically the lowest interest rate that I've ever seen, okay? But if you look at the history of interest rates, an average mortgage is about 8%. And so a lot of people have shock, about where we've come to. But my message is that you need to, as a homeowner, probably, especially in a variable rate environment, be prepared, to pay 8%, And so, that's the history of from that standpoint. But, I'm hoping that, the economics will improve. But, there's a lot of factors that come in line with that. But being agile is a real key for being a business owner. Being able to move with the current situation. And the success, there's some businesses that went out of business. When I first got involved with the SBDC, Larry had just retired from, Larry Kane and he had a video that I was really talking about the life cycle of a business. And actually, there's times whenever you need to think about closing your business. And that's a very difficult challenge. But just like, us as humans, we have a life cycle. Well, business has a life cycle. And so, in economic times, challenges, you need to, be agile, be able to move, be able to be innovative, or look at opportunities where you can, liquidate or get out of the business. And so, there's challenges on both sides of the equation.
That's great. Matt, you were talking about sitting around the table at Christmas and throwing out an idea to family. Let's talk about doing that and those angel investors. What are some of the best practices for getting your pitch ready to go out to potential investors?
Practice, practice, practice. You are always pitching, you are always presenting, every person, every time, anywhere you are at. Someone's always going to ask, what are you up to? What are you doing now? How is your business? What's next? You need to have a response to that. And the easiest way is to use the KISS method. Just keep it simple. Too many times people overcomplicate their pitches or presentations. Because it's some fantastic, widget, or it's an awesome app or a software or a code or a medical device, whatever it may be, is over about 95% of people's heads. Have no idea what it is. The easiest way you can get people to remember or be engaged with your pitch is give them something they will remember. I always say, start off with a story. Why did you come up with this idea or what the problem was? Then say your name and what your company's name is. Then here's the key. Your very next sentence should be the most basic version of what your business is. We are a software company. We are a poultry farm. We are a service-oriented carpet cleaning company. Everybody knows what that is. Then you can go into whatever details or uniqueness about your business after that. People won't remember any of that aspect. They'll remember the simple thing. Matt, software company, got it. Then you can go. Then they can ask follow-up details on it. But if you can get those simple aspects to them, they will remember your pitch. They will remember your presentation. If you get too burdensome with details, they will tune out. Some of you may be tuning out now. That's okay. Hopefully we keep it simple enough where we all can understand. I'm not talking, saying talk down to people, but make it so that anybody and everybody can understand what you're saying. From a banker, when they're going to ask, what is your business? For those that have seen Office Space, what would you say you do here? What's the simple answer that you can tell somebody that gets that across? If you can do that, any pitch or presentation you give will be a success.
And I'm just going to say, y'all help do that, correct?
Absolutely. Not only do we help students do that, but we help anybody in the community that has an idea, business, venture, and wants help crafting a pitch, a presentation, a slide deck, just wants to practice. I'm going home for Christmas, and I need to be able to ask my family for money, what should I say? Yeah. We'll help you at the Small Business Resource Hub.
Yeah, you all hear about an elevator pitch. I mean, it's that short, simple elevator pitch. So, and that's something for all of us, not just those that are wanting to go out and borrow money. We should all have a personal elevator pitch. If you don't have that, think about it tonight. Write it down because it will help throughout life, no matter what you're doing and no matter who you're asking money for, or if you're asking for someone to come do business with you, you should have that elevator pitch. Brian, people have credit problems. What happens if your credit is not perfect?
So I like to say...
You're on, you're good.
Okay, there you go. I like to say that credit is way more important than cash, all right? So if you have $10,000, $20,000 in cash, great, awesome. You have it stuffed under the mattress, wherever you have it. Cash is great, but credit is so much more important because emergencies come up. And I can't tell you how many people can walk into a bank and say, a loved one just passed away. I need $10,000 to bury them. Here you go, if they have good credit. If they have bad credit, becomes a much more difficult situation. Please don't put your banker in that situation. If you take care of your bills, it's just like, when you're growing up on the schoolyard and somebody borrowed $3 to buy lunch and they never paid you back, you're not going to do it again. And that's the same way with credit. If you have bad credit, that is your report card. That is basically our information that we need to make a decision. This person doesn't pay somebody back, so why would we lend them more money? I say that there is a caveat. your local banks, and we're famous. I've made loans to people that have credit scores less than 500. There are situations when it's explainable. Luckily, again, you can sit down. You've got a captive ear when you're at a local bank, and they'll hear you, and you can tell them, hey, this was because of, so-and-so loved one had cancer, passed away, divorce, all those situations. If we can tie it in and figure it out, see a time frame and understand the credit, we still might make it. But it becomes a whole lot more difficult. The interest rates go up because banks get paid based on risk. I mean, we price loans based on the risk that we're taking. If it's unsecured, it's going to be a higher interest rate than if it's secured by your house. People pay for their houses on time. If they have X amount of dollars, the house payment is going first. The unsecured payment or the credit card payment might wait until next month. So credit is super, super, super important. Number one thing. I wanted to give a plug also to SBDC and the SBA, since that's why we're here, guys, and we appreciate them. I mentioned earlier that I do, on smaller loans, try to avoid going that route because it's like taking an elephant gun to shoot a squirrel. They have a great product for the larger loans. We like to sit down with the small business owners, understand their business, talk to them, and then if we deem, it's larger than a new truck loan or larger than a new suburban loan, we're calling them up and we're saying, hey, we need you to schedule a meeting with the potential client and help them get a business plan. It helps me to understand the deal if the business plan is done by them. But the reason why I really love for the customers to go to SBDC and the SBA is because the customer will understand the ins and outs of the financial statement and whether or not their business is going to actually make a profit. I mean, I had one time that wanted to open up a hobby shop, and the business of opening up a hobby shop was going to be his hobby because at best it was going to break even. I gave that advice to him. I think he still opened up the hobby shop, but it wasn't a business. But he understood it after he went to SBDC, and they explained, here's how much you're going to make, here's how much your expenses are. It gets down to zero each month. You're working for free. Okay, I'm okay with that. He wanted to do that. Most business owners don't want to break even. So SBDC really helps you understand the future and what's going to happen.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. We use the SBDC constantly. I bet when somebody calls the chamber or they come by, I bet 5 to 10 times a week we're saying, go see the team at the SBDC. If you've never been there and you've never taken your ideas, or you've got a business and maybe you're struggling, go sit down with them. They are a free resource. They are phenomenal staff to work with. And for us to have that here in Angelina County, I just encourage you to go work with Diane and her team there because they've been great. Greg helped us over the years with a lot of different clients as well. Greg, when you're, let's talk about a business plan, because we know that the Arnold Center does it. We know that the SBDC does it. PeopleFund, what's your favorite part of helping a business plan?
Understanding the passion. I get energized by the passion, okay? And so, again, the business plan is part of that. It communicates to the third party what your business is. But if you come in kind of like your pitch, if you got a good pitch, it can get really energized. There's one of Diane's clients here, Bobby Weiss. I'm going to kind of mention him. He basically in Carthage had a meat market, okay, and has expanded that into a slaughter facility. And the USDA's here also, they came behind Bobby in that effort as well. But basically understanding the passion and then understanding the need. All the meat processor, a majority of the meat is produced by less than 5 sources in any of the proteins, from pork to beef to chicken, and so there's they've consolidated, and by economies of scale, they have limited the resources of the availability of the processed foods, and so the USDA realized that there's a big need for local food opportunities. And Bobby was able to coordinate with the USDA and the SBDC and other partners to be able to start a slaughter facility in Tenaha, of all places, in a small little community in East Texas. And so it's really exciting to see how things can come together and a group of partners come together to help, create that and make it a reality. So.
Nice. Matt, we've talked about local resources like grants, loans, mentorship programs. How can these be accessed effectively? How can people find out about it? I mean, I think there's so many people that probably don't even know things that are out there that could benefit them. How can they find out about that?
Absolutely. There are so many more resources out there. I mean, just look around this room at all the exhibitors here. They all want to help you. They're not clamoring saying, gosh, I'm not going to help this person or that. They're here to help you. You just have to ask. You could reach out to organizations like SBDC, the Small Business Resource, your local bankers, PeopleFund, and ask, what other resources are there for me? How do I get in contact with them? Do you know somebody in this industry, this field, this business? I'd be shocked if they said, no, we don't know anybody. No, we can't help you. No, we're not going to do that. We're Texans. We want to help each other. We want to see Texans do better. So we go bend ourselves over backwards any way we can to help you. Find those resources that you may be. But you have to ask for them. We're not going to know what you're looking for if you don't come up and go, I need help. I need direction with this. If you do that, I guarantee you 100% you will find the resources you are looking for. You can go to any one of these groups here. You can come talk to me or anybody up here and ask us your question. What do you need help with? And if I don't know the answer, I will point you in the direction of somebody who does. Same thing with everybody else up here and around the room.
Yeah, thank you. Brian, let's talk about some tips that you would provide small business owners that would help make the loan process easier and probably more successful.
Super. I hesitate because every deal is different, like I said earlier. So your first step, don't even print off your tax returns. I mean, you can print off your tax returns, print off your paycheck stubs, print off your balance sheet, financial statement. That's all fine. Bring it in. It'll help speed the process along. But really, the first step is just come sit down with your banker. And I was smiling while Matt was talking because there are so many resources here to go talk to, and there's probably somebody out there that can help you. And I was laughing and smiling because Joe Caesar's over there, and if there isn't a resource to help your business, he'll probably start up a new business to help that business, because I think that's his MO. He's got probably 15 businesses to help you. But reality is, come talk to your banker first. Again, we're going to customize it to your size and what your needs are. If it's a small loan, we're probably going to go one direction. If it's a large loan, we're going to go a different direction. Most banks have certain legal lending limits and lending limits that they can go up to. Small businesses typically don't get anywhere near that. But if it gets large, then we're going to get creative. We're going to partner with SBA or SBDC or somebody else. But that question is so, I get the calls all the time. What do I do to qualify for a loan? Well, first of all, pay your bills. That's most important. Secondly, start saving up some money to have some skin in the game, have an investment. We are loaning you money. We're not your partner, okay, banks. Now, when Matt was talking about venture capital earlier, that's the reason why you're giving up a portion of your business and you're giving them a share. They're partners with you. They expect a good return on their money, the same percentage return that you're getting. Banks, even though rates are theoretically high right now, which, like we talked about, they're really not that high compared to history. It's just the last 15 years we got used to 3% mortgages, 4% mortgages. But, just come in and see us. We'll customize it. We'll figure out how to help you, and we'll send you in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned Joe Caesar, because if you don't know Joe, he is a wealth of knowledge as well. He has the Legacy Institute for Financial Education. He can teach you how to read your finances, how to understand them. And he and his team are also a great resource. We are a plethora of resources, and I don't think any of us really realize how special that is. We have got, it's like Matt said, we're Texans. We all want to see other Texans to succeed, but more important, we are East Texans. And we want our region to succeed, because when one community succeeds, we all succeed. That's how we get more resources put into our area. And so make sure you use resources that you meet here today. And if you haven't met these people, take time to meet them, because they really can change your business model. Greg, when you're evaluating clients, how do you determine if you take on a client, or do you determine you take on anyone that comes in?
Well, we'd like to assist anyone that comes through the door. Again, by just guidance, direction, answer their questions. I think a lot of times that is a big factor, just having somebody to discuss a business concept with you. And so, like Brian mentioned, credit scores are very important, okay? We, as a community development financial institution, we have less credit standards than Brian might have. But I don't think I can do a 500 though score. But anyway, we work with clients to try to improve that situation. Again, life happens, okay, and so you might not have the best score, and the most knowledgeable person about credit score is actually Joe Caesar. He's actually on, and I'm thinking I'm saying this right, Joe, but he's an advisor with FICO, and that's the organization that creates the score, or the original score. There's another efforts called Vantage Score. You've probably seen that on your credit card statement, but it's a competitor to FICO. But anyway, all of them use an algorithm basically on basic elements of what your credit is to determine that score. And but it changes daily, okay? I've had an opportunity to try to monitor mine recently and actually, try to get it up to the highest it can be, and just almost like a sport. But anyway, there's things that could happen outside of your control. One of our local bankers retired. He was my mortgage officer. Okay, I had a investment property that was up for renewal that was sitting on his desk when he retired. Well, it took 30 days for the next person to come in to sit at that seat. Guess what happened to my credit score? Okay, it dropped 100 points. Okay, and that was outside of my control. Luckily, the bank was willing enough to understand what the problem was and help me, get it back on course. But it's not a futile state to have a low credit score. You can make some efforts. Joe has a program that helps a lot of his clients. The SBDC can encourage people in that regard. And, there's a lot of other resources, but understand, watch your credit, knowing that 100-point drop, it was shattering to me, but I was cognitive enough to know that it happened, and I could go find a solution to it. And try to improve your credit. But for a business startup, we've got some programs that our base credit score requirement is probably about 650. Okay, but again, we try to work with you and understand what is impacted or behind that score, as Brian mentioned, and we try to encourage you on efforts to how to improve it. And so that's what I would encourage people to not see that as a limiting factor. The other factor that we really want to understand is your ability to repay the debt. Okay, we need to get paid back. Okay, and it's hard for a business or a lender to look at that business and kind of like the risk of the business plan that's already been mentioned is that, we know that a lot of that could be blue sky, okay? But a lot of, the performance and your ability is based on your efforts and how you can do it. And that's hard for the crystal ball. It's hard to understand that. And so we're going to look for global cash flow. We look for resources that was mentioned, Matt mentioned about, angel investors and those type of things. But we also look for, family partners that could come alongside of you, or the ideal situation is to have a side gig, have a W-2 type business, okay, and then start a new business and in your free time. And so we are able to look at your cash flow, your ability to pay that debt from your other earnings, to help support the new venture. And so that's another opportunity, a way we can look at it. And I also want to mention our moderator, Eddie. He does a great job. What he represents is economic development companies or corporations that help different regional groups. And a lot of their funding comes from sales tax, okay? And so whenever you go buy a product, you help the economy by fostering new business. And so we appreciate the effort that JEDCO and the rest of the EDCs in the area, how they help partner with new businesses.
Thanks, Greg. Matt, what piece of advice would you give entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey in seeking finance, funding, and maybe anything else that they're doing?
It's simple. Just do it. The hardest thing we have as entrepreneurs, small business owners, getting out of our own heads. The idea that, someone's going to say no. They're not going to like this idea. They're not going to go for it. No one will buy it. I've already gone to the bank once before, and they said no. They're never going to say yes to me again. It gets in our head. It's maddening, so we never get out there and do it again. You have to. You're going to hear no a lot, a whole bunch of times. That's part of being a small business owner, being an entrepreneur. Can you be resilient and take those no's as, what do I need to work on? Get back out there. Go talk to Brian. Great. If Brian's not able to, for whatever reason, go talk to another banker, all right? You'll find somebody eventually will say yes to you. You just have to get it out of your own kind of head of when you're trying to seek that finance and funding. I like kind of three key pieces of advice from I think the greatest adventurer of the last 100 years. Henry Jones Jr., or Indiana Jones, as many of you may know him better by, it was one of my favorite idols. I think in the movie that he uses in The Last Crusade, hopefully you've all seen it. It's a fantastic movie if you have not. At the very end, he goes for that holy grail, right? Business owners, we're looking for that holy grail. He's got to go through 3 challenges, right? If we remember, the first one is the breath of God. Only the penitent man shall pass. We have to be humble. You don't know everything. You need to be able to ask for help and resources. Next is the Word of God. You have to know the knowledge, the information. The wrong step, the wrong information can lead to your downfall. If you don't have that, you will fail. But ultimately, only a step from the lion's head will lead to your success. You have to take risk. There is inevitably risk in every single thing you do with your business. And if you're not prepared to take that step, that leap of faith, that I'm on to something, gosh, this is the bank that's going to say yes. This is the resource that's going to help me. This is the person I need to talk to. Then you won't be successful. Joe, you're probably going to be getting a whole bunch of people heading your way here at the next break, so I hope you're ready. Don't bombard him over there. Take your time. But the key thing is just get out there and do it. There are people there in this community that want to help you and will help you. All you have to do is ask and get out there.
Yeah, it's a great advice. This is probably for you, Matt, more than anyone else. But let's talk about choosing the right location and how you register your business to enhance your funding prospects.
Oh, for all the real estate people out there, what's the key to business?
Location.
Same thing with any small business whatsoever. If you're trying to get somebody to come buy your widget or product and you're selling out of your garage or your attic or it's hot, it's 100 degrees outside, no one's going to come. If you try to put a coffee shop next to 2 other coffee shops, no one's going to come. You will fail. You need to know what fits best for your target market. In order to do that, you need to know who your target market is. Who will actually buy your product? What customers are you trying to get, and where are they located at? Resources at the Small Business Resource Hub, SBDC, the Chamber, SFA's Carry, all can help identify needs within communities that aren't being met and where might be the best place to place your business or to start. Maybe it's here in Angelina County. Maybe it's actually better in Nacogdoches or Rusk or somewhere. I don't know. There's part of the research. There's going to be some legwork you're going to have to do before you start your business on where it makes the most sense to actually start that business. More businesses fail because they start in the wrong place. They think, this is where everybody will buy this. No, they won't. If you can find out where that is, that's where to go. In regards to registering your business, that's a loaded question. In that there are lots of different ways you can register your business. A lot of it depends on how much risk you're willing to take. You can be a sole proprietor DBA. You're taking on all the risk of that company. If anything, God forbid, happens because of the result of your business, you're personally liable, both financially and personally. You can also be a C corporation, registered in Delaware. Then you have to have boards and everything along those lines. Or an LLC. All depends on risk. My advice would be, one, talk to your accountant or an accountant of what makes the most tax sense for you and your business and your revenue you're bringing in. Two, talk to your local banker. They will let you know this makes the most sense. This is what we're looking for with the loan. You need to have this type of organization, and they'll help you get those EIN numbers, the correct registration for your business on there, because it is a big decision. I never like to tell anybody what business they should be registered as. That's a decision that you need to make, and as long as you understand what the pros and cons are of each one of those different entities.
Thank you. Let me just say in closing that if you are not involved, and I'm going to plug the chamber here, I'm going to be selfish. If you're not involved in your local chamber, whether it's here for Lufkin, Angelina County, Nacogdoches, Jasper, wherever you are, you're missing out on a great opportunity to let other people know about your business. Chambers are here to support you. We are here to put you on a platter and elevate you so that you have the opportunity to get out and network and to shine so that people want to use you. The Lufkin Angelina County Chamber is a 5-star accredited chamber. We are governed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and we have been in existence for 105 years almost. If we can help your business, please come and let my team, Mackenzie's in the back, let us know how we can help serve you and help get your name out so that your business can flourish. We are I say all the time, we're kind of like a gym membership. If you pay your chamber investment and you never show up, you have wasted your money and you have wasted your time. But if you will show up and if you will put in the legwork and the communication to be with other people, we will bless you tenfold because we will make sure that your business is elevated. But you have to come in as a partnership with your chamber. The chamber cannot do it on their own, but together we can help elevate your business. Would you help me thank your panelists today? They've done an excellent job. Thank y'all for being here. Eddie, I'm going to bring you back up. Thank you for having us.
You know, as a former banker, I enjoy hearing this conversation because so many small businesses don't hear that information, and then they get a little upset when the banker doesn't help them like they should. But I was sitting in loan committee one day, and I don't know if anybody remembers a man named Arthur Temple, but Mr. Temple was on our loan committee, and he taught me early in my career that, you know, a personal financial statement is simply a exercise in creative writing. And so you try to back that up with the other documents, and the business plan is so important. So if you're a small business and the banker or Greg or someone at Communities Unlimited asks you to produce a business plan, just do it. It is an exercise. It tells you things about your business you may not have even realized or knew. But I do want to take another shout out for the Temple Foundation for providing Communities Unlimited and PeopleFund to East Texas. They saw a need, and they are the reason that these two entities are now in East Texas and helping a lot of people. So thank you. We're going to take another break. Please visit our vendors, and we're going to come back at 11:05. to start our next session.